Alrighty YouTube, welcome back. I'd like to start this video out with some fantastic news. If you remember at the end of the last video, it ended on a little bit of a depressing note with Rat 10 not running, trying to get it into a break-in. And I didn't know why. I had no idea. We tried literally everything. That original video where Rat 10 started up for the first time must have been some kind of godforsaken miracle. Because I have no idea what happened. After I got the whole front end assembled, it just didn't want to cooperate. We set the timing everywhere. I reset base timing 5, maybe 6 times. And then we went into plugs, wires, sensors, everything. Nothing worked. We could get it to fire, run for a little bit, seemingly normal, die for no reason. We get it to fire sometimes, backfire out of the intake. We had some pretty big fireballs coming out of this that you never saw because I forgot to record them because there was about, like 12 to 20 hours combined of me and my dad trying to figure out what was wrong with this thing. And it all stemmed down to, if you paid attention to the last 5 minutes of last video, there was a wire down here for the distributor that I cut. That was the set timing wire for the distributor that comes from the computer to control your timing. Essentially just letting the engine run at base timing, no computer control whatsoever. As soon as I cut that wire and fired it up, it ran perfectly. Now I'm not going to go into the details of it because I don't actually know a lot about it myself. But these factory 2.5 computers specifically, don't quote me on it, use what's known as a 90-degree spark reference. And again, I have no idea what that means. In my head, it would seem to think you set your distributor 90 degrees out and the computer is programmed to know that so that it will compensate for it. Why? I don't know. That might not even be right. Either way, with that timing wire cut, I set the engine to 8 degrees advance, which is kind of where I want it. We reprogrammed a custom prom into the computer with the 8-degree reference. And believe it or not, so guess what? The issue ended up being something completely out of our control that we never really even thought of because it's such an arbitrary piece of code and a piece of outdated technology. Why would you ever think of that? I appreciate everyone's suggestions of different sensors, too much fuel, this, that, and everything under the sun, because I tried everything. Trust me, I was going nuts. I was very depressed at the end of that weekend. And the fact that it came down to something that incredibly small, stupid. And with my angry rant of why this pile of garbage didn't want to run in the first place, I'm now going to send you into the clip of the mayhem that ensued trying to break it in. And it ran really good except for one little thing, which you'll see right now. Okay, we should hopefully be ready to break this in. My dad retuned the computer with the chip that has the 8-degree spark reference in it instead of the 90-degree. So hopefully it'll run and be fine. Good to go? Yep.
Watching that belt when you were revving it there, I could just watch it flicker a bit. So it must
From where?
I could just see it jump a little bit, eh? Try it again.
If that's all we gotta deal with, then whatever.
And now you're on. Now you're off. Okay, don't get everyone in. Maybe don't rubber so high. Just a rattle up here, but it could be all the stuff just all that stuff, you know, for this. So I think it's all down here, just the noise.
Well, I know that muffler's got a little bit of a wiggle to it, like it's not perfect.
Oh man, that's what we're on here.
Probably we'll hear it pop it off and see if you can still hear it. Because I thought I was hearing something too.
I'll stay in the side this time.
Yeah. Maybe we'll get a clamp for that muffler if you think it's too loud.
Just put the muffler back on. We have the rattle list, so it's okay. It's also your wastegate jangling in there too.
Oh, I can close that. Never mind, I don't know what that is.
Your idle controller's jumping. That's the noise I'm watching it.
Tensioner?
Yeah, sorry, tensioner. For whatever reason it's catching. And so it's just, that's the noise with that time here. That's, the tensioner's moving.
Well, I know like the alternator isn't perfectly square on its bracket.
I'm running, you can watch it if you want. So that's what's... You see it moving it.
Oh yeah. Okay. Yeah, it's definitely the alternator that's the problem. You can see if you look at the belt and the alternator's like this. Because if it starts to flop around too much, I'll just back it down. Good.
Yeah.
When rack 10s, it would sit there and it would do this all the time. But that alternator is definitely crooked. It's just that whole bracket is crooked. I can't move that by hand. There's no way. Let's try the.
I wouldn't do that on me.
I just want to see if it moves.
No, this actually is on the same alignment, right?
Yes, it's all the same bracket.
I didn't realize that.
It's moving it. I'm putting a lot of force on that to do that. Like this doesn't move.
Why just scared you?
The only thing it's gonna do is bend my bracket with these bolts. Or break the fucking thing off. It sucks. It's not like it stops the alternator from being mounted to it. It's still bolt to here and here. Yeah, it's just not as strong.
You can put the charger on and not the alternator, so there'll be no load on the alternator.
Look, it's on. The alternator half of this bracket, so this is definitely out of alignment.
Yeah, she's
That belt has one hell of a curve to it. Whatever, let's try.
As soon as that revs changed there, jump.
I fell off the alternator this time.
Holy smokes.
The belt just threw off the alternator. It's hauling ass. That thing had to have been doing 2,000 RPM.
More than that, that's 4 to 1.
Oh my god, that thing was zooming. But I guess in theory, that's how fast an alternator spins.
1500 is normal.
What's the timer at?
9 minutes.
Okay, we can do this. We can get through this.
Alright, here you do the top, I'll do the pull. There you go.
I feel so bad for my neighbors.
Another one here?
Yeah.
I don't know where that alternator plug went.
Oh yeah, find that.
There it is.
Okay, let's try it.
Well, we're gonna try it again. We got another
7 minutes. Plus or minus all the time we ran it before.
Probably getting pretty close to breaking. Maybe not the way the book says you're supposed to do it, but. See, it's coming off the crank, and then the belt just falls off.
It's gotta be because that bracket is misaligned.
What's your coolant temp at? You definitely got pressure in the system. 60?
77.
170.
It's above thermostat down.
Yeah, well, it's, so your system's pressurized right now, right?
There's no leaks.
Engine's at operating temperature. Try once more if you want.
As I mean, with all the time that we had it running, it's probably got 20 minutes in it. So I know I gotta redo my alternator bracket.
I'll see what I have for idlers and water pumpers.
Can you put like a swing tensioner on a serpentine setup?
You just take the slack up.
Yeah. Or is that just V-belt specific?
You can manually adjust the serpentine.
Yeah. Because I could just ditch that and then just run the alternator by itself.
I think the serpentine being the longer belt has more stretch over time, that's all.
Yeah. But I mean, as long as I make a bracket that can swing a whole shitload.
Have you seen the Camaro?
No.
I don't have a tensioner. Or a tensioner anymore. My alternator's my tensioner.
Well, turn you made a tensioner.
I just-
That's great, yeah, you've been driving that thing too.
At the racetrack, I might add.
Yeah, you haven't been nice to it.
$6,000.
On a 305.
I didn't mean to do $6,000, but I do have data that tells me I did. So there you go. I have a non-tensioner system on my Camaro and it works fine.
True.
Well, and if you get rid of this long stretch here, this long part of the belt, you'll have less deflection, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I see what you're saying is you get rid of that whole shitload, you just put your alternator
You
here.
just have the alternator on a bracket here. The belt comes up from the main pulley to the alternator. You don't need the tensioner. So, how much did we get? We got 13 minutes and 23 seconds. That 13 minutes and 23 seconds took us 59 minutes and 45. That's a bunch of bullshit. So I haven't been hearing any turbo noises, and I was kind of wondering why. And the belt is currently off, but I just want to do it quick. I'm going to hold the wastegate shut. See if we can hear some noises. Give her. You can hear a little bit of whistle through that. I can hear a little bit. Cute. Well, maybe that wasn't your conventional style of break-in with the amount of times it threw the belt off the engine and we had to shut it down and bring it back up. Regardless, we got the engine up to operating temperature. It did run there for a little bit. So I think I'm gonna be okay with the break-in that it got. The rings in it should have already been at least somewhat seated to the block. I just opened them up a teeny little bit. I'm pretty sure the cam is gonna be okay. I have a very high zinc break-in oil in there, and I'm gonna ensure to run zinc additive, if not just like diesel oil or something in this, to ensure that the flat tappet cam is gonna have the zinc it needs for proper lubrication capabilities. And now I know I need to completely go through and redesign the alternator bracket. I'm thinking of just ditching the tensioner entirely and building a bracket for the alternator that'll mount up here that I can just swing it out on to tension the belt. I can actually get away with a shorter belt like that too without the tensioner. I can route it just slightly different and it should be okay. So one minor setback, which is all right. Hearing this thing run and idle has been such a victory for me. After that complete disaster trying to get it run last week, this makes me happy. I did plan to do a little bit more in this video, so I apologize if it's a little bit on the short side. I kind of took the week off after I got this thing running and broke in just to get some sanity back and ignore this for a week after it drove me nuts. But with that said, once that belt alignment is fixed, I can further assemble the rest of the truck, redo all the wiring in here because it's an absolute train wreck, move on back to the rear to finish the brake lines, maybe the parking brake cables, we'll see, because I just need brake lines to drive it. And then we'll get into redoing the floor, fixing the shifter for the transmission, and taking this pile of garbage for its first drive. So I hope you enjoyed that. I hope you stay excited for it, and thanks for watching.